Part 122. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 1211. I slowly raised my hand. After receiving my order, the dark soldier behind the second cobbler directly wiped the second cobbler's neck. After doing this, I came to the woman and said, "Okay, it's time to send your daughter to be reincarnated." When the woman heard this, her face showed reluctance. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and asked, Can I see her again?" I glanced at the little girl's face, was slightly startled, and said, "Yes, the fate between you and your daughter is not over yet. Your appearance shows that you won't have children in the future, but, this kind of thing is not unsolvable. As long as you do more good deeds and accumulate merit, you might get pregnant." The woman lowered her head and remained silent, not knowing what she was thinking. I continued, "Your family is wealthy, so it is not difficult for you to do good deeds. However, you must keep one thing in mind. No matter what good deeds you do, you must do it from the heart, there can be no purpose." The woman raised her head and said to me, "Thank you for your advice. In fact, if a woman is really pregnant, her next child will definitely be a girl. Because the cause and effect between mother and son has not yet been severed." However, I didn't tell the woman about this because I didn't want the woman to regard the next child as a substitute for the little girl. I activated the ghost seal of the underworld, summoned the gate of the underworld, and said softly to the little girl, "Let's go, if we are destined, you mother and son will definitely meet again." The little girl nodded to me very obediently, and then said to her mother, "Mom, don't be sad. Although your daughter is gone, you can look up at the stars when you miss me. I heard that after death they will all turn into stars." With tears in her eyes, the woman nodded fiercely at the little girl and said, "Mom will not forget you, and she will definitely live a good life. Then, let's hook up." "Then," the little girl's childish voice sounded in my ears. "Hang yourself on a hook and don't change for 100 years. Whoever changes is a puppy." The woman forced a smile and said her final goodbyes to the little girl. After the little girl entered the gate of the underworld, I said to the woman, "You go back first." The woman bowed deeply to me and said, "Thank you, master. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have harmed my daughter." I waved my hand and said, "This is what I should do." Afterwards, the woman left and I left the funeral home. After leaving the funeral parlor, I drove towards Changling Community. Changling Community is located on the outskirts of Tianfu City. It is not as prosperous as the city center, and there is not a single person on both sides of the street. Soon, I arrived at Changling Community. I got off the car and looked up. Changling Community stands in darkness. There is no light at all in the residential buildings. It is so dark that people feel a little panicked. It shouldn't be, it's only 11 o'clock at night. It's impossible for everyone to turn off the lights and go to sleep. I walked into the community, and there were no street lights in the community. The cold and pale moonlight poured down, shining on the residential buildings in front of me. When I saw the windows upstairs of the residence, I was stunned on the spot. I saw that the window was sealed with cement. I looked up and saw a very strange scene in the moonlight. The windows in the entire Changling community are sealed with cement. No wonder there is no light. Wait, isn't this the columbarium? Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 1212. What is a columbarium? It's very simple, it's the house where the ashes are kept. Most of these houses will have a mourning hall in the room and seal the windows with cement to prevent sunlight from entering. The reason behind the emergence of columbarium is simple: cemeteries are too expensive and people cannot afford them. People who want to buy a cemetery often have a high economic level, but they cannot afford the cost of the cemetery. Driven by this factor, columbarium poop emerged. Columbariums are mostly found in small counties and suburban areas, far away from urban areas. Because the housing prices here are much lower than in the city center. Sometimes you have to be aware that your neighbors may not be human. I looked around and observed the feng shui here. The orientation of the residential buildings in Changling community is very strange. There are tall buildings in all directions. It is like four mountains located in the southeast, northwest, and northwest. The wind can't come in and the breath can't come out, but the moonlight can shine in. The most important thing in raising corpses is to maintain corpse chi. Moreover, moonlight can also provide energy to zombies and increase their Taoism. At this time, I can confirm that Changling community is the place where corpses are raised. The corpse raising ground also has feng shui eyes. As long as you find the feng shui eyes, you can break the feng shui here. The condensed corpse energy will also disappear, so naturally it will be impossible to raise the corpse. I never expected that I could find this corpse raising place so easily. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes and began to feel the flow of corpse energy around me. My five senses are much stronger than those of ordinary people, especially body sense. I can clearly feel the flow of gas. After a while, I slowly opened my eyes and focused my gaze on a residential building. The feng shui eye should be there. Without any hesitation, I walked towards the residential building. The whole community is very strange, there is no security guard, and the door of the residential building is not locked. I originally thought that there would be people from the Taoist sect guarding this corpse place. However, I haven't encountered it so far. I pushed open the door of the residential building, and a bone-chilling chill rushed towards me. I shuddered subconsciously. The entire residential building was eerie because the windows were blocked with cement and it was pitch black. However, the safety warning light emitted a faint green light, which allowed me to see clearly what was going on in the corridor. As soon as I entered the door, I saw 3 households, 1 in front and 2 on the left and right. The doors of these 3 houses were locked. I didn't stop here and went to the second floor. Because I didn't find anything unusual on the first floor. But when I came to the second floor, I was dumbfounded. There was a huge difference between the second floor and the first floor. Black and white silk and satin hang on the door frame of each house. At first glance, it looks like a mourning hall. Moreover, there are 2 paper-made boys and girls placed at the door of each house. The piercings of boys and girls are lifelike, as if they are real, especially the paleness of the face and the scarlet red of the lips and cheeks form a sharp contrast, which makes people shudder. It seems that the people who bought a house here have turned it into a mourning hall. Moreover, after experiencing what happened to the cobbler just now, I also know. What should be stored in every house is not ashes, but corpses, corpses of those who died unexpectedly. However, these corpses will be processed by a cobbler and then sent to a corpse raising ground to be raised until they become real zombies. This door is so heart-wrenching. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1213. As the saying goes, the dead are the most important. This sect claims to be a well-known and upright sect, but it actually uses the corpses of the deceased to refine corpses. Moreover, in addition to the dead, they also arrested the living. In addition, I also understood the conspiracy of Daemon. They take advantage of the weakness of human nature by resurrecting the people closest to them as a pretense, so that the family members and friends of the deceased can willingly sacrifice their bodies. This kind of behavior is simply outrageous. Just when I wanted to continue going upstairs, a crisp creaking sound suddenly came from behind. The door is opened. I turned around suddenly and saw the door of the resident on my right opened. It was dark inside and I couldn't see anything clearly. The 2 paper-bound boys and girls at the door were illuminated by the green light of the passage, which looked very strange and terrifying. I hesitated again and again, and decided to go into the room and take a look, so that I could be mentally prepared for what would happen next. Thinking of this, I stepped into the room. I fumbled around on the wall and found the light switch. Just hearing a click, I turned on the light and the room was illuminated. The room is not a rough room, but has been renovated. However, the walls are hung with black and white silk. In the middle of the living room is a morning hall, and there is a single bed in the morning hall. Lying on the bed was the body of a man. The corpse was wearing a shroud, and there was no sign of decay. However, the blue face and pale skin made people shudder. One very important thing is that the corpse has grown long nails and sharp fangs. This is about to turn into a corpse. Not all zombies have their own intelligence and thoughts like Hwashiu. A zombie raised like this is a walking corpse, only capable of bloodthirsty and attacking people. I sighed slightly. Only by finding the feng shui can I destroy the corpse place, and the zombies here can also be freed. Just when I wanted to leave, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of the door. I frowned and chased in the direction where the black shadow disappeared. I came to the corridor, surrounded by deathly silence. Just when I was wondering where the black shadow was going, suddenly a hand stretched out from behind my back. My face hardened, I turned around suddenly, grabbed the hand of the man behind me, and then pressed him tightly against the wall. The man behind me snorted, obviously hurt by my rude behavior. "Who are you?" I asked coldly. Before I could clearly see the person pressed against the wall, I heard her ask in a confused voice, "Lusu." I was slightly startled when I heard this voice, "You Sun Tao." Through the light emitted by the electric light in the room just now, I could clearly see her appearance. It turned out to be Yu Sun Tao. Her hands were tightly bound by me and pressed against the wall. Her peach-like eyes were full of surprise. Moreover, in order to prevent her from moving around, I pressed my feet against her slender legs. "Lusu! Let me go!" Yu Sun Tao Jiao shouted. I quickly let go of my hand. Yu Sun Tao's pretty face turned red, she glared at me fiercely, and said angrily, "You can't be gentler, it'll make my hands so painful." I smiled awkwardly and said, "You didn't show up suddenly." Yu Sun Tao rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Didn't your master tell you to call me uncle when you see me?" I was slightly startled. "Uncle?" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1214. Yu Sun Tao is Su Tianxuan's senior sister. Logically speaking, I should call her uncle. However, Su Tianxian and I have long ceased to have a master-disciple relationship. "What else do you call me uncle?" I said. "Master, I look old, so I won't call you." After hearing this, Yu Sun Tao rolled his eyes and said, "Slick." I asked, "Why are you here?" Yu Sun Tao replied, "Of course I am also here to investigate the matter of the corpse raising ground." I asked with some confusion, "Aren't you a Taoist? Why are you still investigating?" Yu Sun Tao replied, "Since the last time I left Penglai Immortal Island, I have left the Taoist sect and am now a disciple of Longhu Mountain." It dawned on me, and I asked a few more questions. After several conversations, I learned that Long Hushan was also involved in this matter. The purpose is to destroy Daemon's plan to raise corpses. I nodded and asked, "Did you find anything?" Yu Sun Tao replied, "I found some." Later, Yu Sun Tao told me all the information she knew. Her information was similar to what I investigated, and there was no source. However, she knew where the feng shui eyes were. He also said that the corpse raising ground in Changling community was under the care of an elder from the Taoist sect. That elder was proficient in heresy and was very difficult to deal with. Hereticism is evil, and it is extremely cruel, as is the case with this corpse refining. Yu Sun Tao came to me, stretched out her slender hand and patted my shoulder gently, saying, "Don't be afraid, even though your master is not with you, I will protect you. Besides, your master has told me to protect you, and as a master, I will definitely do it. I smiled at Yu Sun Tao and replied, farewell, we are not sure who will protect whom yet. Yu Sun Tao was stunned, put his hands on his hips, and said angrily, your wings are really hard. Do you dare to say such big words now? This girl doesn't need your protection. Sometimes I really doubt whether Yu Sun Tao is Su Tianxuan's senior sister. Su Tianxian is calm and composed, while Yu Sun Tao happens to be similar to her, charming and passionate. Moreover, both of them look extremely beautiful, but Yu Sun Tao feels more charming and affectionate, just like a vixen. Just as Yu Sun Tao and I were talking, dull footsteps suddenly came from behind the room I just entered from behind. Could it be that the corpse has transformed into a corpse? Thinking of this, I turned around suddenly, and a livid grimace came into my eyes. Sure enough, the corpse has changed. I saw the zombie wearing a shroud, opening its bloody mouth, exposing its fangs, and biting my neck. I frowned, subconsciously took a step back, squeezed the thunderju, and blasted directly towards the zombies. There was a loud rumble, and the zombie was instantly swallowed up by lightning. It was directly blown away by my thunder technique, and then fell heavily against the wall. I stepped forward to check and found that the shroud on this zombie had been torn by lightning, and large areas of his body were scorched. Despite this, he was still struggling desperately on the ground. When I saw this, I summoned Jingxiao and stabbed the zombie between the eyebrows. With a pop, the sky of shock penetrated the zombie's skull, and then it stopped moving for an instant. These zombies are soulless and cannot be reincarnated. Only by destroying their bodies is the greatest respect for them. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1215. Yu Sun Tao hurriedly came to my side and said reproachfully, why are you making such a big noise? You will be discovered. Then the zombies in the entire community will be dead, and we can't escape. I said, since we have decided to destroy this corpse place, we should be prepared to be discovered. Anyway, we will be discovered sooner or later. Yu Sun Tao was slightly startled when he heard this, but he thought the same thing. She hesitated for a moment and said, however, we must be careful. The Taoist sect has reached an agreement with a certain big shot in the underworld. These zombies are not raised for themselves, but for the big shot. I was slightly startled when I heard this. Raised for a certain big shot in the underworld. There are so many big figures in the underworld, who could they be? Ghost Emperor of the 5 Directions? Or is it the 10 Palaces of Yama? These are the only major forces in the underworld, plus Emperor Fengdu and Ksatagarbha Bodhisattva. The others are all subordinates. It seems that the situation in the underworld is indeed complicated. Whether it is people, ghosts, or gods, they all have a share of the pie. Isn't this just recruiting troops before the war? I said to Yu Sun Tao, let's find the Feng Shui as soon as possible and destroy this corpse place. Since I have decided to get involved in the affairs of the underworld, I cannot allow the situation to develop further. I am on the side of Emperor Fengdu. Because I promised him before that if there is a rebellion in the underworld, I will help him suppress it. Rebellion in the underworld is a serious matter. If you accidentally release the evil spirits from the 18th level of hell during the battle, then the entire world will become purgatory. Yu Sun Tao nodded and said, the Feng Shui of this corpse raising place is on the rooftop. There is a huge energy gathering array on the rooftop. As long as this energy gathering array can be broken, this corpse raising place will naturally be useless. Qi gathering formation is a formation that gathers qi. The qi gathering formation appears here to gather corpse qi for those corpses to absorb. Yu Sun Tao and I walked all the way towards the rooftop, but when we reached the 4th floor, we were forced to stop by the side in front of us. I saw dense crowds of people appearing on the stairs in front of us. Looking closely, It turned out to be boys and girls tied up with paper one after another. I have observed before that there is a pair of boys and girls tied with paper in front of almost every room. At first I thought it was due to custom. After all, after a person dies, a mourning hall is set up, and a boy and a girl will be placed on both sides of the coffin. But now it seems that is not the case. At this moment, Yusun Tao turned around, his expression instantly becoming extremely serious. "Look behind us." I turned my head, my expression froze for a moment, and I saw that there were also densely packed boys and girls standing on the stairs where we came from. These boys and girls have stiff facial features and numb expressions. The boys wear bright blue shrouds, while the virgins wear bright red shrouds. Everywhere you look is blue-green. I took a step forward, and a strange scene happened. These boys and girls also moved, surrounding Yusun Tao and me. It seems that it is impossible not to deal with these boys and girls. I took a deep breath, stretched out my right hand, and summoned the karma fire. The crimson flame danced in my palm. Without any hesitation, I threw the flame in my hand towards the boy and girl in front of me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 1216. When the fire of karma touches the paper figures, it instantly engulfs all the boys and girls with the force of a prairie fire. Yusun Tao was stunned and said in a panic, "Are you going to burn the entire building?" I explained, "This is karma fire. It will only burn evil things. Let's leave quickly." As I said that, I ran upstairs. The fire of karma was burning around me, but I couldn't feel the slightest heat. This kind of fire has no effect on people, and they can't even feel any temperature. But for evil ghosts and ghosts, the fire of karma is as hot as a living person jumping into the sea of fire. Yusun Tao and I quickly came to the rooftop and found that there was indeed a chi gathering formation here. On the rooftop, red threads are entwined, spiritual flags are flying, and various spiritual talismans are hung on the red threads, which rustle when the wind blows. I can clearly feel that the corpse energy around me is gathering here. I soon discovered the formation I, which was in the northeast corner of the formation. Just as I was about to step forward, I heard an old voice suddenly appear from the darkness. "Lu Su, I didn't expect you to really come back." I followed the sound and saw a rickety figure slowly appearing in the darkness. He was an old man, wearing a large black robe, stooped, and only 1.5 meters tall. His face was covered in scars, mostly scratches and bites. Moreover, his eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, and the way he looked at me was full of malice and malice. Yusun Tao's expression changed slightly, and she whispered to me, "This is the Taoist elder I'm talking about. He is ruthless, good at raising brats, and can also manipulate puppets. You have to be careful." I looked at the old man coldly and said nothing. The old man walked towards me minding his own business. "Lu Su, should I call you stupid or smart? You know this is a trap, but you still break in. If this is the case, then I will kill you to avenge the 2 legs I lost." 2 legs? Because the old man's black robe was too long, his legs couldn't be seen at all. Moreover, he still wanted to avenge himself. It didn't take much thinking to know that he must be my grandfather's enemy. You know, my grandfather almost destroyed the Taoist sect before. Based on this reasoning, I am afraid that the entire Taoist sect is the enemy of my Lu family. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man's black robe began to squirm crazily, and the next moment, a black shadow jumped out of the old man's black robe. The black shadow was moving so fast that I couldn't see clearly what it was. In just the blink of an eye, the black shadow was already in front of me. Without any hesitation, I activated the pure lotus mark on the palm of my left hand. Holy and hazy white light enveloped me, and the shadow of a lotus flower slowly bloomed, enveloping me in it. Just hearing a bang, the black shadow hit the lotus shadow heavily. It was precisely because of this that I saw clearly the true appearance of the black shadow. It was a child, but this child was a puppet. His skin was pale, his expression was numb, and his movements were very stiff. I could clearly see the gaps between the limbs of the puppet and the main body. I summoned Jingxiao and stabbed the puppet with my sword. I originally thought that this sword could easily break the puppet. But in fact, I was overthinking it, because although this puppet is made of wood, it is as stiff as steel. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1217. I frowned, and the next moment, a scene that shocked me happened. I saw the puppet's limbs breaking with a snap. There are sharp blades hidden in the severed limbs. 4 blades came towards me. Not only that, there were countless sharp little needles appearing on the puppet's body. Looking at it, this puppet looks like a hedgehog covered with thorns. 4 blades, plus the main body of the puppet covered with needles, came at me quickly. Moreover, it is very fast. Yu Sun Tao shouted at me, "Be careful, these daggers and needles contain poison." Seeing that I couldn't avoid it, I used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain and disappeared instantly. When I appeared again, I was already in front of the old man. I raised the Jingxiao in my hand and quickly pinched the 9 layers of Thunder Ju. I directly superimposed the power of the 9-level thunder technique to the 4th level. Thunder flashed, thunder and lightning wrapped around the sky, and I swung my sword towards the old man. The thunder and lightning was like a cheetah, striking at the old man with lightning speed. The old man's expression was stagnant, his eyes full of disbelief. At this moment, another black shadow appeared and blocked the old man's face. This time it was an imp. The kid was wearing a shroud with pale skin, and he resisted the thunder technique directly. However, the power of the 4th level thunder technique is not something that ordinary brats can withstand. Although the little ghost is not dead, he has reached the critical point of losing his soul. The old man stepped back continuously and shouted in disbelief, "Lu Su, I didn't expect that your strength has improved so fast. You can even catch up with your grandfather. I don't have time to talk nonsense with this old guy. Now I just think about how to kill him and then break the formation." At this moment, strong winds came from behind. I looked back and saw that the piece of wood was flying towards me again. I unfolded the 9 Eyes heavenly domain and used the power of the 9 Eyes heavenly domain to force it to stop. I took a step forward, and a yin-yang bagua array emerged under my feet. 2 dragon roars echoed through the night sky. Immediately afterwards, 2 black dragons, one white and one black, appeared from the magic circle, coiled around each other, and opened their bloody mouths towards the old man. Ah! The old man screamed and was swallowed by 2 blue dragons, and the puppet instantly lost its ability to move. I looked at the old man lying on the ground and thought, am I dead? But what I didn't expect was that the old man struggled to hold himself up with both hands. The old man had just been affected by the power of the yin and yang double dragon diagram, and the black robe on his body became shabby. When I saw the old man's lower body, my pupils trembled violently. Because this old man has no lower body. It was cut off at the waist. What was supporting him just now was a fierce ghost with only the lower body. However, the half of the fierce ghost spread out and collapsed, obviously unable to sustain the power of the yin and yang twin dragons. The old man looked at me viciously and resentfully, and said, "Lu Su, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. If that's the case, then don't leave here alive." The old man stretched out his hand and patted his chest. The next moment, the only remaining upper body of the old man was patted into blood mist. Countless amounts of blood and broken flesh rushed towards the formation eye. Immediately afterwards, countless low roars resounded throughout the Changling community. Yu Sun Tao came to me and said, "Oh no, It seems he used his own life to wake up the zombies in the entire Changling community. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1218. Hearing this sentence, my expression became extremely serious. If all the zombies in Changling community transform into corpses and break out of Changling community, it will be a devastating blow to the entire Changling city. I quickly stepped forward, squeezed the magic formula with my hands, and broke the chi gathering formation. At the moment I broke through, corpse energy rose into the sky. I stood on the rooftop and looked around the entire Changling community. I saw all the doors of residential buildings opened, and countless zombies walked out of the residential buildings. At this moment, out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly noticed a figure next to the flower bed. It was a tall man wearing ancient armor. Because the distance was too far, I couldn't see his face clearly, but he gave me a very familiar feeling. I thought about it carefully, and my expression changed drastically. That man is none other than the ancestor of the 4 zombies, Ho Cheng. Why is he here? Yu Sun Tao also came to my side. After seeing the man, his expression changed suddenly. According to my investigation, such a person should not appear here. I turned around and said to Yu Sun Tao, "That's not a human, that's a zombie." Yu Sun Tao asked with some confusion, "Zombie?" I nodded and said, "That's the queen." Upon hearing the word Ho Ching, Yu Sun Tao's face turned very ugly. Ho Ching was a general under the Yellow Emperor during his lifetime, but later became a zombie. Huqing is the younger brother of Dan. He initially served as a general under the Yellow Emperor and helped the Yellow Emperor attack Shu. But later he died unfortunately due to a battle with Qi Yu. But after the death of the queen, his body was exposed in the wilderness, and his soul was wandering around. Over time, Ho Ching's resentment became more and more serious. Ho Ching fought tooth and nail for the Yellow Emperor during his lifetime, but after his death, no one came to collect his body. Ho Ching's soul resented the Yellow Emperor even more. Like the general, he also encountered a ray of soul. In order to avenge the Yellow Emperor, Ho Ching was willing to dedicate his 3 souls and 7 souls to Jian. After that, Ho Ching also became a zombie. Ho Ching possesses the power of zombies, the art of soul sucking, sucking human souls, sucking human flesh and blood. Later, he took revenge on the emperor and broke into the emperor's camp. He was later killed by Nuwa. Before his death, he left a curse. The corpses of all those who died unjustly can turn into zombies. This is why people turn into zombies after death. Now that the queen appears here, it is very troublesome for me. Each of these 4 zombie ancestors is extremely powerful. Yingu is one of the 9 evil stars, and his power is stronger than the other 3. However, this does not mean that the other 3 are easy to deal with. Yu Sun Tao asked me, "Then what should we do now?" I pondered for a moment, then raised my head and replied, "We will definitely not be able to leave. We must find a way to eliminate these zombies and generals. If he leaves, the entire Changling city will be devastated. I can't leave because I am now the city god of Tianfu City." I said to Yu Sun Tao, "Do me a favor and help me set up formations in the 4 directions of southeast, northwest, and northwest." "What formation?" I replied, "Corpse formation in all directions." The 4-way corpse formation is a formation specifically designed to fight against zombies. It has been lost now. As for how I know it, it is naturally Yuan Tiangong's memory. Since the memories of Yuan Tiangang and Lu Bowen were restored, there are many more formations and spells in my head, and most of these formations and spells are long lost. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1219. Yu Sun Tao was slightly startled when he heard the corpse formation in all directions. Isn't this formation lost? I said to Yu Sun Tao, I know how to do it. I'll tell you how to set up the formation. With that said, I told Yu Sun Tao the specific method of setting up the four-sided corpse formation. Yu Sun Tao looked me up and down and asked with some disbelief, where did you know this formation? I smiled and replied, I know a lot of things. Yu Sun Tao rolled his eyes and said, bragging. Although Yu Sun Tao is Su Tianxuan's senior sister, but its strength is much inferior to that of Su Tianxian. It was only later that I learned from Yu Sun Tao that Su Tianxian was a rare genius in Longhu Mountain for 1,000 years. At the age of 10, his strength has already surpassed that of contemporary celestial masters. However, the starting point of talent is too high, and it will be a bit difficult to go further later. Yu Sun Tao and I discussed it, and the two of us walked downstairs. When we returned to the residential building, the doors of every house were open, and the bodies inside had left and headed to the courtyard of the community. The two of us quickly came to the courtyard of the community. The sight in front of me made my pupils tremble violently. Countless zombies were standing there. These zombies were old and young, male and female, and each of them was wearing a black shroud. Their expressions were numb, their facial features were stiff, and they stood erect, not to mention how intrusive they were. I looked at Yu Sun Tao and asked, do you remember what I just said? Yu Sun Tao nodded, but immediately realized something. Hey! Is there any master who orders you like this? I stretched out my hand and touched my forehead. How long had it been since I was still thinking about this matter? This Yu Sun Tao looks mature and calm, but in fact, she is also a little natural. I was wrong, uncle, please go quickly. Yu Sun Tao snorted and disappeared into the darkness. There are at least more than 3,000 households in Changling community. If every household has a zombie, then there are at least thousands of zombies in the entire community. There are so many zombies that it's really overwhelming. I'm not worried about what harm these zombies will bring to Yu Sun Tao. After all, Yu Sun Tao is also from Longhu Mountain, so it is easy to deal with these zombies. However, why are these zombies standing upright and motionless? At this moment, the zombie group gave way to a path, and a man walked slowly towards me. When I saw this man, my expression became very serious. His figure slowly walked from the darkness into the moonlight. Queen. He looked like a man in his 30s, with an ordinary appearance, but he had an innate aura of a king. I'm not surprised at all that this aura can appear on him. After all, the four ancestors of zombies are all zombie kings, able to command the existence of thousands of zombies. He stopped in front of me and said with some surprise, Lu Su, I didn't expect you to be still alive. I looked at him coldly and said nothing. Ho Qing raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth and said, your master is no longer with you. Let me see what you can do to fight me this time. I met Ho Qing on that bus before. I took a deep breath and said, do you really think that I can't live without my master? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1220. Ho Qing looked joking and said, isn't it? Putting it before, what Ho Qing said is right. However, they forget that everyone will grow. Even if Su Tianxian is not around now, I can still stand alone. I'm too lazy to argue with the queen about this matter. I slowly raised my hand, summoned Jingxiao, pointed my sword at the general, and said, stop talking nonsense, today I will eliminate harm for the people and kill you completely here. As soon as I finished speaking, I used Nine Eyes Heaven Realm and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already on the left side of the queen. I raised my sword in my hand and aimed at Ho Qing with my sword. Ho Qing suddenly raised his hand and caught my sword with his hand. I heard a clang, and the huge repulsive force knocked me away. Ho Qing looked at his arm and saw a scar on his arm. He asked with some surprise, "What is the sword in your hand?" The body of the Jingxiao sword is made of centuries-old lightning-struck wood, and the sword contains the yang soul of the sacred tree, the essence and blood of Su Tianqian, and the heart sword. It is a true sword that can harm all evil spirits in the world. Ho Qing is one of the ancestors of zombies. He has a strong body and great strength. It is difficult for an ordinary peachwood sword to hurt him. I looked at Ho Qing coldly and said, "Things that will kill you." Ho Qing raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth and said to me, "Since you are so arrogant, then have some fun with these guys." He let out a low roar, and the upright zombies around him began to move instantly. The zombies' closed eyes suddenly opened, their eyes flashing with a bloodthirsty red light. The next moment, countless zombies came towards me like a tide. I originally wanted to use the Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain to dodge. But there are too many zombies, and no matter how I move, I can't leave. I could only watch as the corpses engulfed me. I quickly mobilized Jinglian's defense, and these zombies seemed to be going crazy, tearing and scratching at Jinglian's mark. The strength and corpse energy that a zombie can exert are limited. But hundreds of zombies are different. The corpse energy emitted by more than 1,000 zombies was like a huge mountain, pressing down on the shadow of Jinglian. Even in the shadow of Pure Lotus, I can feel this frightening corpse energy. There is no way to continue like this, we must find a way to break out. I also want to buy time for you Sun Tao to set up the formation. The four-sided corpse formation not only deals with these zombies, but its main function is to suppress the queen. Once suppressed, I will have the opportunity to kill him completely. I took a deep breath, kneaded the technique with both hands, and began to perform the 9 layers of thunder technique. I superimposed the power of thunder technique to the 5th level. The 5th level of thunder is enough to attract thunder. Boom! There were bursts of thunder and lightning burst out in my palm, making a tingling sound. As the power of the thunder technique became more and more powerful, the size of the thunder and lightning gradually increased rapidly. I have now been able to superimpose the 9th level of thunder technique to the 6th level. However, to deal with these zombies, the 5 levels of thunder technique is enough. I shouted angrily, and the thunder and lightning surrounding me exploded instantly. With me as the center, powerful thunder and lightning spread to all directions. With a bang, the zombies pressing on Jinglian's shadow were directly blown away by the powerful thunder technique. Each one seemed to have been hit by a car, twisting and falling to the ground. Some zombies even crashed directly into the building on one side.